This week has been filled with surprises. Earlier this week, we got our new electric EV, the Subaru Uncharted, kind of similar to the size of the Subaru Crosstrek. And now I have behind me the new 2026 Subaru Trailseeker. This is the EV that everybody is calling the electric Outback. It is a wagon-like SUV, it's fully electric, and today I want to share with you all the cool details about this vehicle. And I also want to show you something really cool called Advanced Park Assist. I think that's what it's called, but we are going to let it self-park for us in one of these parking spaces. What better way to test it out than do it in an empty parking lot? That's probably the safest way to do it. So we're going to test it out today, see how it works, and we're going to go over all of the details. So as I mentioned, a lot of people are calling this electric version of the Outback. And if you look at the specs, the size specs of the two side by side, here are the specs comparing the two 26 Outback to the 26 Trailseeker. You can see they are very similar in a lot of ways. The length is virtually almost the same. The width is very similar. The Trailseeker roof is just a little bit shorter, but the wheelbase on the Trailseeker is longer than the 26 Outback. The Trailseeker comes standard with a 370 horsepower dual electric motor. It gets an estimated of anywhere from 274 to 281 miles of range. If you're curious about the difference, I learned just today that the premium trim, which is the entry-level trim on the Trailseeker, has the 18-inch alloy wheels, whereas the Limited and the Touring, the one in front of us is a Touring, has the 20-inch wheels. And with electric vehicles, if they have larger diameter wheels, they are slightly less efficient. And so that's why the premium gets an estimated of about 281 miles of range on a full charge, compared to the Limited and Touring that have an estimated of about 274 miles of range. Just like the Solterra and the Uncharted, the Trailseeker also is on the NACS system. So this means you have more accessibility, because now you have the ability to use the Tesla supercharger network to charge your vehicle if you are going to take this on road trips. And for those curious about the battery specs and kind of nerding out about what this one has, it is similar to that of the Solterra, the new Solterra, and the Uncharted. It has the 74.7 kilowatt hour lithium battery, so that's how big the battery is, and it can charge up to 150 kilowatts. What that means is the kilowatts determines how quick the battery can be charged. And for reference, the first generation Solterra could charge only as fast as 100 kilowatts, which made it take a lot longer at that DC fast charge. Now, the estimated time from 10 to 80% at the DC fast charge is approximately 28 minutes. So a lot better than the first generation that we saw with the Subaru Solterra. And a quick note for those who are new to fast charging, this is something that I learned recently, because after all, I am new to the electric vehicle world. I'm still learning about this myself, but something that I want to share with you that I think is important, that the first time you go fast charge, if you find a fast charger that states that it can charge up to 300 kilowatts, unfortunately, that does not mean that your vehicle is going to charge up to 300 kilowatt speeds. It will max out with the Subaru Trailseeker at 150 as it stands right now. So that is the fastest, no matter what the charging capabilities are for that fast charger. So just a quick note on those who are new to fast charging an EV. Normally, I wouldn't mention this because, well, almost every Subaru has this, but this does have symmetrical all-wheel drive, and the main reason I'm bringing it up is because in my last video, when we talked about the Subaru Uncharted, that EV does have the front-wheel drive option, totally unlike Subaru, but with the Trailseeker, it is only in the symmetrical all-wheel drive. And of course, it wouldn't be a Subaru SUV without excellent ground clearance. This has the 8.5-inch ground clearance. When you compare that to our typical non-electric Subaru SUVs, those typically have 8.7 inches of ground clearance as a standard, so pretty close to our non-electric Subaru SUVs. On the inside, the Trailseeker comes standard with a lot of nice features. As an example, it comes standard with the front heated seats and standard with the StarTex upholstery. This is that water repellent material that looks and feels like leather. It's very soft to touch. And then if you want to upgrade to leather, the Touring while it comes standard with the StarTex interior, it also has the option to get the leather. And just like all the other EVs, we have the standard dual wireless chargers. It appears Subaru is doing this on all of their new EV lineup. Now, something interesting a lot of people have noted on is the design of this steering wheel. I heard some people call it a squircle. So it's a square design steering wheel. It's not fully rounded. The first generation Solterra had the gauge cluster up here just like this, and it had that circle steering wheel. Now, the issue that I had, and a lot of people had with that first generation Solterra, was when you adjusted the steering wheel, you were constantly trying to fight with the adjustments to figure out where you could still see the gauge cluster but have clearance with your knees. So instead of moving the gauge cluster up and closer to you, Subaru decided to do this flat square steering wheel, which it works. I think it is comfortable. I will give them that, but I don't understand why the gauge cluster has to be so far away. So that's my one small little complaint with it. If I have one, that is my one complaint. That and well, the cup holders are not suited for 32-ounce water bottles. They don't really fit in there that well. But anyways, not that big of a concern to me. Very minor if you ask me. And then in the rear, I have a lot of space. Now, I kept the seat in the position that I was in if I were the driver. So somebody much taller than me could move this back quite a bit. I don't know, that's probably not quite a foot, but it's yeah, there's a lot of space between my knee here and the back of that seat. A lot of room there to move if needed for somebody much taller than myself. But as you can see, lots of space back here, and I'm pretty happy with the size of this. And I think people who are coming from maybe an Outback also would be. I'm gonna share some quick differences between the premium, the limited, and the touring trim levels for those who are trying to compare the different trim level offerings and wanting to know what the true differences are between them. But before we do that, let's try out that self-park assist or driving parking assist. I can't remember the name of it offhand. That parking assist feature. We're gonna try that out now and see how it works in practice. So we're going down this aisleway here in the parking lot. Got a nice empty parking lot to test this out in, and we are going to try to back up into one of these parking spaces. And the way you do that with this advanced park assist is you click this button. So right now I'm in drive. You click this button, kind of hard to find at first, but I found it. We're gonna click on the P right there, and this is where you select whether you want to park parallel or perpendicular. We're going to select perpendicular, and then we're going to back in. We're going to back into one of these parking spaces. Click OK. And then here is where it will try to find the parking spaces. This is pretty close, but you can use these arrows here to line it up better if you want to try to line it up a little bit more. I'm going to try to get a little bit further into the space, and then we will click OK and start. And it automatically turns your blinker on, tells you to release the brake. If you need to take over at any time, you can just tap the brake and take back over. But as you can see here, my hands are off the wheel. My feet are not on the accelerator or the brake pedal. It is a little scary, but you are going very slow. And that is also why we're testing this out in an empty parking lot, just to see how well it does. See how well it lines up with the lines and the parking space there. I will say that beeping in reverse is kind of annoying, and I think that can only be heard from the inside, but it is kind of annoying. All right, so it automatically put the car in park for us. I'm gonna take my seatbelt off and get out and just see how close we are. See how it looked like from the camera that we were pretty lined up. It went a little farther back in the parking space than I had anticipated, but I think that might have been my fault because, as you saw, I kind of adjusted it into the parking space. So that was probably more so my fault than the car, but it is lined up. I will say that. It is very lined up in the parking space. So I don't have an issue parking or parallel parking even, but this is kind of cool that the technology exists, and it's kind of fun just to test out to see how it works. Overall, I'm really impressed with the parking assist technology, and I'm excited to see how this develops in the future and see how it gets better over time. But overall, it's pretty good for those who might want to use it. With that out of the way, let's talk now about the differences in the trim levels on the 2026 Trailseeker. So there are 3 trim levels, kind of 3.5. I'll talk about why that is here in just a second. There's a little bit more than 3 trim levels if you're looking online, and I'll explain that in a second. Starting out, you have the premium trim. This is the entry level. It comes standard with the StarTex upholstery, heated front seats. You have the power driver's seat, the large 14-inch touchscreen display that is going to be standard on all of them, and you have the power operated rear gate, standard on all of the Trailseekers. The premium has an MSRP with destination and delivery starting out as low as $41,445. Now, if you jump up to the limited trim, this has an MSRP with destination and delivery starting out as low as $45,445. And what you get with the additional $4,000 price point is going to be the upgraded Harman Kardon audio. You have 20-inch alloy wheels instead of the 18-inch alloy wheels that come on the premium. You get a heated steering wheel, and for your passengers in the rear, you have rear heated outboard seats. You also get the 360 view monitor. I don't know that many people that are buying this with intentions of taking it off-roading, but just simply parking, it can be really helpful to have this 360 camera. One thing that I wish that I had on my 2023 Outback. And hidden in the cargo area, the Limited also adds a 1500 watt power outlet. Lastly, another key thing that it adds, not only do you have a power driver's seat, but you also get a power passenger seat starting with the Limited trim. The Touring trim is the third one in the lineup. This is the one we have in front of us today that we are filming with. It builds upon the Limited, very similar in a lot of ways, but it adds a few key additional items. For example, the Touring adds the panoramic glass roof with the power sunshade. And for those curious, it's just the sunshade that opens. The glass does not open on this. Not only do you have heated seats in the Touring, but this is the trim level that adds the ventilated air conditioned seats. So if you want that in those hot summers, that can be incredibly helpful. And then if you ever have trouble seeing out of your rear window, maybe you have passengers back there, maybe you have luggage back there, you just can't see out of your back window very easily, that's where this Touring trim smart rear view mirror comes in handy. You can see out of the back window with that digital rear view mirror. And lastly, the Touring also adds something called radiant leg heaters for the driver and the front passenger. I couldn't quite figure out how to turn it on or how that works in this yet, but apparently the Touring does add that as well. Wrapping all that up, the Touring trim starts out with an MSRP, including destination and delivery, as low as $48,005. Now there is one additional option for the Touring, and that's why I said there's kind of like 3.5 trim levels. You can get the Touring with leather interior. It comes standard with the StarTex interior, but you have the option to upgrade to the leather interior. And it appears that it's not much more. For example, whenever I built this out on Subaru.com, it said the Touring with the leather trim has an MSRP with destination and delivery starting out as low as $48,305. I'm planning more upcoming videos on our new Subaru EVs, the Uncharted, the Trailseeker you see behind me, even some more with the Solterra. Let me know down in the comment section below what questions you have, what videos you would like to see, and what information you would like me to share on. I'll be happy to put that together for you in a future video. I hope you all have found some value in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.